It's time, Alan. We talk about
Yeah.
Captain America Brave New World. Dante James, our friend from Verbal Riot Show, did a reaction and a non spoiler review. Warning, we will be doing spoilers. Everything's on the table. The movie has been released. So if you do not want to hear spoilers, you can bug out now. I get the feeling no one cares. But I have given my thoughts. Alan, I want to hear what you think of Captain America Brave New
Yes.
World.
Well, I'll tell you what I liked about Captain America Brave New World. So, the Celestial Isle from Eternals, that's where they find adamantium. The world knows about it, or at least the world's leaders know about it. And I like this intrigue and the idea that there's this island with this valuable substance. And now you got to figure out who owns it. What country owns it? Should we be sharing it with other countries? And so now there's this political intrigue that goes on, and I really like that. But I wish the movie actually addressed all of that. Um, this is the problem with this Captain America, because the first two had themes. They had themes that had global ramifications, geopolitical ramifications. This one, the geopolitical ramifications of a substance out in the middle of nowhere that everyone has the rights to, is merely backdrop to this story. Um, the story the story is essentially Sam trying to prove himself to be Captain America, and you have these plots that just kind of build upon that. The thing about this movie is it fails at the story level. Uh, the story is just so thin that it is not a Captain America movie. It is barely a superhero movie. It is a movie that just moves you from action to action. You know the who, who set off all the super soldiers to try to kill and assassinate the president and the world's leader. Well, that's the story of Captain America. Who did it? So that's not that's a Disney Plus show. That's not a movie. That's not something you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on. Um, Look, the biggest problem aside from the story I have is all the supporting characters. Uh, who cares about them? Who cares a single thing about them? Maybe Joaquin as Falcon, as the new Falcon, we care about. But let's take what's the name of the Israeli head of Secret Service?
Sabra.
Ruth. Yeah, Ruth. Sabra Ruth.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a former Black Widow. Sorry, just spoiled it. She's a former Black Widow. There is so much you could have done with that. And yet, the only reason they make her a former Black Widow is to justify her ability to take down 300-pound men from an 80-pound girl.
She looks so small. The believability. I thought she was a child, right?
Yeah.
When I first saw her, she's so tiny, she's skinny, she's smaller than your daughter. Alan,
Yeah.
seriously.
No,
She's
no,
not.
go. I posted on X a video of her at the premiere in this dress, and my comment was, I bet mommy and daddy are proud. She looks like a 12-year-old even in that, and she looks like
Yeah.
one here, and her stature is small. I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like she starved herself in this role. Um, her stature is small. It's hard to really believe the things that this character could do. I mean, if that was Scarlett Johansson doing those things, you'd believe it. I just didn't believe with her. And again, all they did was excuse me. All they did was say that she was a Black Widow to justify it. They didn't deal with, if I was making her a former Black Widow, I would also deal with some of the mind control that was going on there, especially when this movie is about mind control. So that was a very weak character. The other one was the president's, Harrison Ford's president. Her the Secret Service, I think it was Colonel Taylor. I forgot what her rank was, but it was a black woman who was protecting her. Black woman, fine, whatever. But what do you know of this character other than she's supposed to look strong and menacing at times? There's no character development. This character serves as one role, to stand there and look tough. That's not how you build characters. And throughout this film, it just felt like all these side characters were just there to push on the plot, to move the plot along. The action was there to just move the plot along. Um, and then you guys talked about it during the week. Um, what is Bucky's powers?
Well,
I'm sorry. What is Sam's powers?
he
Uh,
doesn't have any. He's a regular, I mean, a
yeah,
very good soldier. I'm sure he's very strong. I
right.
gotta think
So
that to wield the shield, you
yeah,
know, you've got to have some strength. The
yeah,
vibranium shield, there's got to be something to that.
yeah.
And you can't just you don't gain superpowers from a training montage. This movie
Hmm.
is season 2 of Falcon and the Winter
Yeah,
Soldier. And you know what? A lot of people did not watch that. A lot of
yeah,
people, the last time they saw Falcon was at the end of Endgame when Captain America handed him his shield. A
yeah.
lot happened in season 2.
Hmm.
I didn't finish the series, although I watched a couple recaps, so I do know what happened.
Yeah,
But I'm sorry. He's didn't earn. You can't make it just a mantle. You can
right.
recast Cap. You can't take a different character and call them Cap. You
Yeah,
can't at the end of a 9-film saga call yourself Skywalker and be a Skywalker. What makes
yeah.
Rey a Skywalker? I don't know who Sam Wilson is. Who is he? I know who Cap is. Cap is the kid, skinny, gangly kid who would fight a bully twice his size and say, I can do this all day. Cap, Steve Rogers, is a kid who would jump on a grenade to save
Hmm.
people around him. This is before he got the super serum. I don't know who Cap is. And
Yeah.
I've said this before. One last thing.
Yeah.
I've said this before. What made Marvel great as in the comics? What has made early Marvel movies worth seeing? It's all built on character. Character. Peter Parker, Steve Rogers, Tony Stark. We know who these people are. We know what they would do in certain situations. The characters are so well defined. And that's what Marvel did great in the comics. That's what made them stand out in the 60s against DC Comics. It's what made the movies, the early phase 1 and so on, early Marvel movies worthwhile because they were focused on characters. That's why Kevin Feige very wisely hired indie film directors whose strengths were character, and he knew that Marvel Studios could build spectacle around character. I don't know who Sam Wilson is. I don't know who he is. And then you have his new sidekick who wants to be the new Falcon. These are not the mantles. Mantles don't work. You can recast James Bond. You can recast Bruce Wayne Batman. I don't think a mantle works in storytelling. It didn't work in the comics. It doesn't work here. We've been light on spoilers. I want to get to spoilers, but back to
Actually,
you.
let me respond to that.
Please,
Let me
please,
respond to
please.
everything because
Yeah.
this is the inherent weakness of the story of Captain America: Brave New World. Steve Rogers embodied Captain America. That's why
Yes.
he was Captain America. The problem is Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America: Brave New World. The story is Sam trying to become Captain America. Tried to, it's the difference between meritocracy and DEI. Uh, Steve Rogers was Captain America, therefore he is Captain America. Here, they needed Black Captain America, and so he has to aspire and become Captain America, and so he's constantly working his way to become Captain America, and that's the problem with it. Because let's assume, no spoiler here, but let's assume that the events of Brave New World is what sets Sam as Captain America. Um, that's the problem is the story now is we follow Sam and we sympathize with him. We want him to become something, so we sympathize, we hope, and we pray and we urge that finally Sam becomes it. Versus Steve Rogers, who is Captain America, that's a character we aspire to be, and that's the difference between it. Captain Steve Rogers was Captain America. We aspire to be him. In Brave New World, we sympathize and hope and empathize that one day Sam will become that role. And those are two stories, very different stories. And one is what modern day storytelling is that we don't see heroes. What is a hero? We don't see heroes in the movies. We see people we empathize with, we sympathize with. And to me, that's very weak storytelling. Because, again, the whole point of a hero's journey is that this hero walks the same walk we do. His weaknesses are tested. He overcomes those weaknesses and becomes the hero. And that's the human story. And that's the ones we gravitate toward. So we gravitate toward Steve Rogers. We don't necessarily gravitate toward Sam Wilson here.
And not only that, the story aspires to be Winter Soldier in terms of its conspiracy and intrigue. It's a simple-minded rehash of Manchurian Candidate. Someone pointed out it's the plot of Zoolander. It's an assassin who is activated by a song and a notification on a phone. It's so dumb. It literally is it's sad and dumb, so underwhelming, the story, and then all leads to someone behind the scenes who's manipulating things. Who is it? The leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson, who played the leader in 2008 Hulk film. So, oh my God, it's just embarrassing. And the reveal of the leader, Tim Blake Nelson as leader, is, I burst out laughing. He has his brain on the outside of his head. It looks like he took a head of cauliflower and added it to his head. It looks, or broccoli. He looks so dumb.
The special effects were awful. It was
across
subpar.
the board, awful.
No, but specifically with Tim Blake Nelson, it just felt like they put a green filter over him at times,
like a light, not even the makeup. And not only that, like, okay, bad special effects. Let's talk about that for a second. You can have effects can be poor if you are so invested in the story and the characters are so good, you will ignore bad effects. If other things are not working, the bad special effects stand out. I'll give you examples. The very first 1978 Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. There are some really good effects, and there's some terrible model work in, like, with California and the earthquake. There's like stuff that looks just like a
obviously models.
But because the music, the characters, the story, you are invested. You don't notice bad special effects when story and character and music and all that is working. It's working. In here, the bad effects really stand out because those elements don't work at all. So so now you can talk spoilers, Alan. What'd you think of the leader? Betty Ross comes in for one scene in the end, like tacked on.
Well, there was a phone call. There was a phone call too.
Right. And by the way, a post-credit scene that at the very, very end of the movie that is meaningless.
Yeah, my daughter was screaming how much she hated that ending. That we stood all that time for this ending, and it was a big nothing. Oh yeah, just a couple things. The thing about the leader is it was when you finally got to the leader, the story was just badly managed at that point. Because there was an interesting thing with the leader. Because I don't know how many people really know what the leader is, who the leader is, or what his role. But in this role, it was basically a guy who can calculate every possible permutation of a decision you make and then pick out the one with the best odds. But that all just felt like it was thrust upon us quickly, quick exposition. When I felt like that, there's a nugget of goodness in that idea that they should have played it out throughout the whole film. Knowing the fact that they've reshot this thing many times, it's clear they couldn't do it, and that they were throwing in these things at the last minute. Same with Giancarlo Esposito. you could just tell that this was tacked on, and
Yeah,
that
it was tacked on in terms of like the scenes just seemed out of nowhere. He seemed like
yeah,
a cameo. He's in 2.5 scenes. He's wasted. He's not a threat throughout. It's kind of embarrassing. It's just horribly embarrassing.
yeah,
Um,
and it's
Go
I'm just
ahead, go
saying the
ahead.
story killed this movie. The fact
Yes,
that the story was cobbled together like it was put together like a quilt, and it just, I think the foundation of the movie was so bad that all these rewrites just couldn't save it, and we're, and it just suffers from that.
well, and not only that, it was the premise.
Hmm.
You let's just say there is no mantle, and a couple other things, the effects, right? So I have this Ant-Man popcorn bucket from Quantum Media, and almost no one remembers this. And it's this cheap thing where Sam's powers are his suit, his wings, Cap shield, and an Ant-Man helmet where he clicks here and the helmet just appears. These Marvel movies are turning into Power Rangers films because every character now has it's lazy, a mask that appears. And I'm always in fear of they're going to lose the tip of a finger because it gets caught in the, it's so dumb. Here, I'm just
Yeah.
that.
Uh, yeah, and then they throw in his suit is laced with vibranium. Uh, everything they added on to the suit, I think they had to add on, before they wrote it, because of all the things this suit can do, like slice through metal and be a shield, and it just, I don't know. Look, when you make a superhero film, the point of doing it is you take a character with powers. Those powers have certain benefits, but there are also limitations slash weaknesses to it. And the
Exactly.
whole point, of the way you write a superhero film is you have a villain who understands the weaknesses of that superhero and then digs into that weakness. Yeah, you say okay. Yeah, and you dig into that weakness. This one, they just keep adding on more powers to him, more abilities, and I feel like it's all done to basically placate the plot. There's a point where he has to take down a jet plane. There's a point where he's going to get shot with bullets. There's going to be knives thrown at him. Oh, don't, you want to talk about the Kevlar shirt he was wearing? The one that, when you stab him with a knife, the knife will go into your body, but because you are wearing the Kevlar shirt, it won't kill you. Is that how that works? I mean,
It's there were too many magic abilities
yes.
thrown in. It
Hmm.
was ridiculous. It was just, we see Cap struggle. Cap, Steve Rogers as Cap struggles, and you
Yeah.
even see him physically. It's a physical performance,
Yeah.
very physical. And I like Anthony Mackie as Falcon. I've said it many
Hmm.
times. He is not a good lead for this film. I'm sorry. And I don't see him as Cap. I see him as someone handed him the rank and the mantle, and that forget the story. The
Yeah.
premise doesn't work. It didn't work at the end of Endgame. It didn't work for the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. It doesn't work in this movie. Now let's get to the act
Well, I
3.
want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
There's the jet fight, and because we know, Cap can fly and Falcon can fly. They're flying around interacting with these jets, which makes me think, why build jets in the first place? Why not just strap people on with these suits, and
Right.
bypass the whole jet process? You could create an entire air force based on guys in these suits, because they do exactly the same thing that a jet does.
Yeah.
It's just, no one thinks clearly. No one in this who wrote this movie could step back and look at the overall picture and see and ask yourself, would this make sense in this world? Would that
Right.
make sense in that world?
Right.
And that's the problem with modern day superhero writers. They don't understand superhero movies.
Yeah, yeah. And let's
Okay.
one last thing before we go to comments. Act 3, the climax of the movie, where Thunderbolt Ross, who's been taking these pills, they kind of projected everything is so predictable.
Yeah.
There
There's
are
so much
no
foreshadowing. There's so much foreshadowing in this movie.
foreshadowing. There's no surprises. This movie is really simple-minded.
Yeah.
He's
How come they
taking,
kept mentioning? How come they kept mentioning Betty throughout the entire movie? Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, and then he's taking these pills that have gamma radiation, so he turns into Red Hulk in the end for a 7-minute fight sequence. That's it. Hulk is in the movie for 7
Uh-huh.
minutes, and that's it. And it's
And
a
and
dumb
I
fight.
and speaking of foreshadowing, I knew how he was going to stop the Hulk before even that battle
Yeah.
was going to
Hey,
start.
you should stop being the Hulk. Think of your daughter Betty and the cherry blossoms. It
By the
was
way, we just entered. Okay, never mind. We're in
Yeah,
spoilers.
no,
Go
it's
ahead.
just yeah, no, there's a spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. It was so
Uh,
dumb.
yeah. Like there are three mentions of Sam being a former veteran counselor, and I'm like, oh my god, that's how
Yeah,
he's going to stop the Hulk.
yeah, exactly. And they did throw in a line of like, I know you could kill me with one punch. And then he was using these weird darts that I thought
Yeah.
the other power, wings, shield, uh
Yeah.
Ant-Man mask, and then
Uh-huh.
like he has these darts, and then he has drones. What is they literally threw in a million different powers to
Yeah.
Sam the overpower and boost him. But
Well, I will
the
say
Red
that
Hulk stuff at
Adam.
the end
Let me.
is bad. It's so he
Yeah.
destroys Washington. Oh, he destroys Washington D.C.
Of
and
course
it's
he
just
does.
god awful.
Yeah.
It's god awful.
I was going to say, in terms of having a weapon for every occasion, let's not forget that Adam West Batman did that. His utility belt had
But it
had
was funny. But it was
yeah,
funny. It was a gag.
yeah, like he had a bat shark repellent in his bat suit at one point, and he happened to fall into the ocean with sharks. Uh,
Well, final thoughts, and we'll go to your comments.
yeah, like I said, story killed this movie. Uh, no one. This is another example of the fact that modern screenwriters don't know how to tell stories anymore. Because I hate to say it, it's not like I've complained about this with other movies, with other modern movies, and it's that wish that maybe it would be beneficial to go back in time, look at the classic movies you loved, figure out why you love those movies and why those stories resonated with you, and then bring those elements into this story or
Yeah.
those stories you're writing. And fingers crossed for Fantastic Four. That's all I can say.
Well, Thunderbolts looks good by comparison. This
Yeah,
movie is a 3 or 4 out of 10 for me.
I gave it
Uh,
a 3.
3 out of 10. There you go.
Yeah.
And the review is on the Film Threat website. Is that right?
Yes, it should be there right now.
That's
I
great.
believe. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, a non-recommend from both Alan and I. And I'll say finally, the audience, who I saw with an audience of all critics who generally love everything, did
Mm-hmm.
not really like this movie. Barely an applause. The laughs were not intentional. There were a lot of laughs, but they were all like during not like the reveal of the leader got a big laugh.
Yeah. I will say that I saw it out here downtown Disney Springs. Shout out to Glenn Nuccio, who was there, and I missed him. Sorry I missed you. But the other thing was the other cameo. The entire audience melted down at that.
Well, that was the
Applause.
thing. Yeah, Bucky has a cameo, does a scene where he basically reinforces your cap, and Bucky's now running for Congress, or he's a
Yeah.
Congress.
Yeah,
It was,
he's running for Congress.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're
But
gonna leave it.
here's the thing: when you watch, if you're going to watch this movie again, really note Bucky's dialogue, what he says,
Yeah,
because for 90% of his dialogue, Bucky is responding to what Sam is saying. So it's like, yes, oh, I understand, things like that, and then he gives a line, an inspiring line at the end, and then they end it with a joke, kind of deflating that line. That's again modern Marvel writing. Everything has to be a joke, even serious moments.
well, this is low tier Marvel.
Yeah.
Low tier Marvel, and can't recommend it.
All right.
Now let's look at this for a second. I want to share screen here. Captain America Brave New World is rotten. It's currently like 53%, but it is ranked 33rd out of 35 Marvel movies. That's right. We're going to go through them right here. You have top tier Black Panther at 96%. Okay. Number one. Avengers Endgame, 94%. Number two. Iron Man, solid, 94%. And number three. Thor Ragnarok, 93%. Number four. Don't know about that. Spider-Man No Way Home, 93%. Number five. Let's go to the bottom. What is that? The very bottom of all the Marvel movies? I'll tell you what's at the bottom. At number 35, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, 46% ranked 35. Eternals, 47% at number 34, 52% at number 33 out of 35 Marvel movies. Captain America Brave New World, 52%. Alan, your thoughts? We'll talk more
where's
about
the Marvels?
The Marvels,
where's the Marvels?
Right above.
Okay.
62%, barely fresh at number 32. Alan, your thoughts on the rankings here?
Yes, I will swap Eternals for Marvels. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, Black Panther, I do like Black Panther a lot, but Endgame, I'm sorry, Infinity War is the best one.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Infinity War, which ranks oddly, Infinity War. Whoa. Lower
Wow,
here.
really?
Where is it? It's at number 15 at 85%.
Under Shang-Chi? Really?
Under Shang-Chi?
Really?
And Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is weird.
Like,
I don't know if I agree with this. We will talk about this on Monday on Versus. What are your thoughts on this ranking?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to understand Rotten Tomatoes and how they do the rankings. I get it's by the scores, but there's got to be some weighting that goes on. I don't think they've ever really gotten it right to where it feels like, in general, it's right. But I this list, they got the bottom ones right. Let's put it that way.
They got the bottom ones pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty accurate.